Talk is here. Looks like YouTube is here now. All right, I think all channels are live. Welcome everyone. John here, senior software engineer with 10 years of experience helping you land your first or next programming role. I'm the lead maintainer of Latterly.io. Latterly is an open source educational platform and social community. You can sign up for free. You can join the Discord for free, events calendar for things like this stream. Get access to this free standard checklist, step-by-step instructions about how to build a portfolio and land that first programming role. Unlock additional perks starting at $1 a month, and instructor-led weekly small groups currently as low as $30 a month. That might go up soon. Okay, and one of the resources on the website is the blog. Bunch of networking tips in the latest blog article. That's a real highly valuable article I recommend you to check out. But today we're doing Leetcode. So the relevant ones there will be 3 and 7. 3 and 7. So Leetcode Kata is the standard preparatory regime recommended by Latterly. It's an evidence-based, data-driven approach to prepare you for the majority of expected interview questions in whiteboard coding rounds. So this is in line with the idea of the blind 75, the grind 75, the 14 patterns article. I contributed to the 14 patterns, by the way, and I improved over it to create 5 to 23 patterns. And the idea is that you have a lower barrier of entry in the 5, and then you have more exhaustive coverage in the 23. And so the Leetcode Kata builds on this mind frame, like mental model of trying to have a low barrier of entry while maximizing relevant pattern coverage. And so the standard kata is 12 problems, and there's an expanded kata with 20 problems. So let's just go through. It's a kata because it is a repetition-based approach. So some people will say that you need to learn abstract data structures before you solve problems. I think this is backwards. I think you abstract from concretes. So you need to learn a couple problems that involve the pattern, and they use it in slightly different ways. And because they use it in slightly different ways, and you've seen it in these different ways, you build an abstract mental model. You can even try solving the problem in different programming language, which I think is a great idea. And so pointers will be used in 2-sum, 3-sum, and pointers will be used elsewhere in different ways. That is how I instill the mental model via kata. So it's a repetition-based approach, so you just end up doing these like 12 problems over and over. After you do it like 3 times, it feels really easy. And that's the whole point. You might call it cheating. I just call it practice. Data point that this works, I was laid off effective effective May 21st, I think, towards the end of May. And I got my first job offer less than 3 weeks after being laid off. So I just got a job offer recently. I'm in the job search myself. So if you've been laid off, been there, done that, and this can work for you just like it's worked for me. So this is not just me telling you things that I recommend from some ivory tower. This is very much applied, like stuff that I've done to land multi-6-figure offers, and it works. For me and other people. Maybe you're more convinced by other people doing it. So, other people have gotten jobs as a result of being involved in Latterly recently as well. So sign up now. Feels kind of like a sales pitch, except that it's like totally free. So just go sign up. Okay, let's get into some questions. Thanks for the follow, Richard. Welcome everyone on TikTok. If you're liking the video so far, give it a tap, give it a like, help the algorithm send it around. User 2509, do you know how ML interviews are? It is Leetcode, ? ML interviews typically do not involve Leetcode, and if they do ask you a coding question, it will still not be in the same frame as a typical software engineering loop in big tech. So some ML positions will ask you to do a coding problem. They want to make sure you can code in addition to the ML fundamentals, but it is not as central. It is not as central. Yeah, if I get a big enough group that really wants this, then I can have like a guest speaker come on. I know a lot of people in the ML field. I am not an MLE. So I would want to bring someone else who can speak more to that, but like in my conversations with them, it's not the same. It's not the same. You're going to need to know your actual bits about like statistics, basically. There will be statistical questions that you wouldn't see in a software engineering interview. How do I get VS Code to look like this? This is not VS Code. This is Leetcode.com. Okay, so we're given the problem. Given a one-indexed array of integers called numbers, it's already sorted in non-decreasing order. Why do we say non-decreasing rather than increasing? Because it's not strictly increasing. You might have a run of the same number, like 222 or 333, which is not an increasing series, but it is a non-decreasing series. So given such a series, we want to find two numbers so that they add up to some specific target. Target there is provided as an integer. We can see on the right hand in the to_sum signature. And then we'll return the indices as index 1, index 2. So this will be a list. The result is expected to be a list that is always of length 2. We're using Python here. I don't know, if you switch it to Java, is it going to be an array? Maybe it'll change the return type. For us, we'll return it as a list. User 308 says, while left is under right. That's true. That's the condition we'll do. Why? Why is that the case? Okay, and so return, like one last note is that the solution must use only constant extra space. Okay, I guess there are two last notes. The solution must use only constant extra space, and there will be exactly one solution. We don't need to worry about an empty set being the solution, and we don't need to worry about duplicate solutions. Sarah, thanks for the follow. So we can use a pointer-based approach here. Because it's sorted, I can use 2 pointers initialized to either side of the numbers list and scan all the combinations by sliding those pointers. In the worst case, I will inspect all elements. So time complexity is O of n. Pointers use only constant space. Michael, thank you for the follow. Constant space is also known as O of 1 space complexity. So here we'll set up left to be 0. We'll set up right to be length of numbers minus 1. Sesmoyasi says, love this. Gonna recommend it to my college students. Thank you so much. I appreciate the kind words, and thank you for the follow. Mreg, hash our notes, people. Good call, good call. Okay, so we have left and right, and we'll say, as one commenter pointed out, while left is less than right. That is the case, but we need to address the question, why is it the case? Your mental model will not stick if you don't understand the reasons why, or it may, just out of if you're someone who has extremely exceptional brute force memory capacity in your own mind. I'm not such a person. So for me, I need to instill this mental model in myself by understanding the reasons why, so that I can recalculate the proper expression if I forget the expression literal, because I know the principles behind the scenes. And the answer, the reason that left is going to be right here is to avoid duplicate work, because I'm calculating a sum. And consider the sum of any two numbers. 1 and 2 is equivalent to the sum of 2 and 1. So as soon as my pointers pass each other, I have no need to run any of the sums already. They will only be redundant on the set of sums that I have already seen. So that's the reason that we want to check while left is less than right, because as soon as those pointers cross each other, we're just going to be generating sums that we've already seen. User 308 says MetaDS for core versus analytics is much different. Yeah, that sounds right. That sounds right. Okay. Glad to see the chat is having their conversation too. It's a benefit you get out of the community, right? So here we're going to do the current sum is the numbers left index plus the numbers right index. That's going to be the current sum. And there are 3 possible comparisons. to the target. This should be a if, not a while. So in this case, we want to return, we found the target. So we want to return left plus 1 and right plus 1. Remember, the prompt asked for a one-indexed solution. I initialized left to 0, so I need to compensate by adding 1. Ethan says, just use bubble sort. That's funny. That's got to be one of those programmer memes, like when in doubt, just say bubble sort. Ethan, I think you're joking, but just in case you're a recent joiner, numbers is pre-sorted in this problem. Natasha says, but it's not increasing. I'm confused. It is non-decreasing. Numbers is non-decreasing, which is similar to increasing. The difference is you might have a run of equal numbers. So you might have 1, 2, 2, 2, 3. So a lot of your intuition will still work if you have the intuition around an increasing set. If your intuition is saying, I can't use the logic associated with an increasing set, that might be giving you a wrong mental model. It's not as if the numbers list is unsorted. It is, in fact, very much sorted. It is, in fact, very much sorted. So this above is a pseudocode. So let's put in the expression literal. Cur_sum is greater than target. That's what we mean by above. Cur_sum is less than target would be the literal for the pseudocode below. I always like to write out the structure of my answer first. Why? 2 reasons. 1, it reinforces the abstract principle. I want to remember the abstract principle. I really want to remember it because it's just like a reinforcement game. So you get double reinforcement when you think of the expression literal and the reasons for it. You get at least double reinforcement. The other reason is in the coding interview, if I'm running out of time, if I lay out the structure of the solution, at least the interviewer has the signal that I know what I'm doing, Even if I don't have time to finish out the implementation, they will still have, it's a loss mitigation strategy, basically. They will still be able to detect that I know what's going on, even if I'm a bit slow. Thank you for the follow. Madman, I don't know what's going on. I just joined. It is number 167, to sum when the input is already sorted. Nandan says, if above, decrement right pointer. If below, increment left pointer. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly right. So when the current sum is too large, we want to reduce the total sum. How do we do this? We decrement the right pointer. Exactly as the commenter just said. And then we increment left in the case where the sum is too small. Because I have these 2 pointers and the list is sorted and my right is initialized at the right boundary. So I can't move right further to the right. That's not an option. I can't move it further to the right to increase my current sum. It's already at the boundary, right? So I will need to move my left up. And because this is sorted in non-decreasing order, that will never reduce my sum. It might not change the sum, but then I'll just continue the while loop. And eventually, it will increase my sum. You have any advice to get an internship in ML? I have a ton of advice, but I'm going to say this is not the stream for that. I'll encourage you to go sign up to latterly.io and start a thread on the Discord. I'll get to your questions. If I don't get to your question during the stream, I'll get to it after the stream. And we can definitely, there are many, many items of advice that I can give you for that. I'll give you a quick one. This is not at all comprehensive, but it starts with the proper job boards in social networking. So a lot of these social networking tips still apply for AI and ML. Okay, that's one thing. The second thing is the job boards. The job boards are going to be super helpful in your job search, whether it's for software engineering or ML, picking the right job boards. And this blog article tells you some really good job boards. Sam says, yo, IDK about advertising getting a coding career. It's already an oversaturated market. Yeah, what's the alternative, Sam? Just staying at home and not working? I was just laid off and I got a job offer in under 3 weeks. So it is relatively saturated. In other words, there are more applicants per available job, but that does not at all mean that you can't get a job. You can still totally get a job. It's about 10 to 20% harder, according to data from interviewing.io. There's 2 people in the chat called Sam. That's great. So the other Sam says, yeah, Sam, take that. Yeah, I wasn't trying to dunk. It's a real question. It's like, don't get a coding job is actually far worse advice than do get a coding job. If you have better advice, I'm open to it. But a coding job is a sweet gig, dude. It was life-changing for me. Like, I don't know what your background is. I don't know if you were born rich, but most people are not. So for most people, getting a coding job will substantially improve their quality of life. That's just facts. Adonis says they told the world to learn programming 10 years ago, and this is it manifested. I don't know who they are. I think most of the people who did learn to code, like it was good for them, right? I think it's just a bummer for the people who didn't. User 2509 says, where should I type to ask my question again? You can ask a question here in the chat, or you can go over to the Discord. So check out latterly.io. Link is in the bio. If you forget, you can just check the link is in the bio. Okay. Is there anything remaining here? So the left pointer, while it's left and right, we get our current sum. We compare it to the target. We adjust iteratively. I think that's the solution. Let's see. Yeah, that's the whole solution. What do you do for work? I'm a programmer. I'm a senior software engineer. How about you? All right, let's continue to 3-sum. One of the benefits of the kata is that there is a meta flow. So there is a flow between patterns so that we do 2-sum and then we go to 3-sum. And some of the mental model will be reused. This is good for reinforcement. This is also good for flow generation and focus. Hey, is this thing on? LOL says, cool, I'm a sysadmin. Awesome, glad to see you here. Thanks for the follow. Let's see if I can say this name properly. Yukehi? I might have butchered that. Thank you for the follow. 3-sum. Given an integer array called nums, let's return all of the triplets. IJK of nums. So these triplets will be values. They are not indices. Notice that the solution set must not contain duplicate triplets. So we don't want to have duplicates. IJK must be distinct, and these values will always sum to 0. So we can see under the example 1, -1, -1, and 2 sum to 0. So that is a triplet of integers that sum to 0. And -1, 0, 1 is a distinct triplet. One interesting thing about that example 1 solution is that -1 is repeated. So you might say, hey, didn't you just say that like you can't have duplicate values, but -1 is repeated? Isn't that a duplicate value? And the answer is that is not what the problem state means by triplet value. It's referring to the collection. -1, -1, 2 cannot be repeated. Within the collection, you can repeat the integer. And then example 2 shows that you could have an empty set output, which is another complication. This username is awesome. There's no way I'm going to say this right. I think some people make amazing usernames just to see if the other people can even pronounce them. I'm also not going to say that because I don't know what it means. That's definitely not English. But this person asks, can you solve the same problem in Java? Python makes it look easy. I absolutely recommend interviewing with Python over Java. It is easier in Python. It doesn't just make it look easier. It is easier to implement in Python. If it were easier in Java, I would have written the solution in Java. So no, I won't go over that. I think it's not a good practice, frankly, and I don't encourage it. The laterally standard curriculum will teach you full stack web development in JavaScript and TypeScript first. I think it is fine to do your Leetcode in JavaScript if that's all you know. For a second language, Java is an okay second language. Frankly, I would push you to Kotlin instead of Java if it's up to me. But Java is fine. And I do understand some companies, if they hire for Java, they expect you to interview in Java. And so that's the reason I will make this accommodation, but that is not a recommendation. This would be like, if you ask me what language should I learn, this would be like third or fourth at best on the list would be Java. I would encourage you to learn Python before Java if it's up to me. So all of that context, what I would encourage you to do is to look at the Leetcode solutions number 7, and there is a list of solutions in Java. And so I'm not going to go over that now, but you can check out that blog article and get the full solution in Java. Sahil, thank you for the follow. Please do in Java. Nope, will not be doing this in Java, but you can look up the solution here. Also, if you go to Leetcode, you can check the solutions tab and tap the Java button. But I have no intent of rewriting the solutions right now into Java. Do I need to be proficient in JavaScript? The answer is no. Like, you don't need to. It's going to depend on your goals. What are your goals? And so as soon as I know what you're optimizing for, I can potentially advocate JavaScript. I think most people are optimizing for landing a job. Even if people are in school. So one commenter says, I only did Java in school. Even like if you survey students of college, upwards of 90% are in college because they believe it will lead to them attaining a job. That's their motivation for college enrollment. Okay. So if your motivation is to attain a job, which is the case for most people that bother to learn to code, then I think you want to learn full stack web development, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and then TypeScript is going to be a fantastic incremental skill. And so even in that case, I would not say that you need JavaScript. I would just say that it is statistically the optimal choice. So some people ask me, like, can I get a job with C#? Absolutely. Absolutely. Can I get a job with, I don't know, like C++? Of course. You can get a job with any of these languages. I mean, I guess there are a few esoteric academic languages that are non-correlated to job attainment. But all of the main languages, you can get a job. It's just a matter of relative difficulty and efficiency. Full stack language with what background? There is only one full stack language. I know that you can go to Indeed and see a bunch of confusing posts where it's like full stack Python developer, full stack Java developer. Okay. There is only one full stack language, and that is JavaScript. If someone says that they want a full stack Python developer, what they mean is they want a full stack developer who also knows Python in addition. It's not as if you can make a full stack application in Python. You can't do that. Technically, you can't do that. You need a language that browsers support. You need JavaScript. And PyScript doesn't cut it today, trust me. I'm involved in contributions with PyScript. It is not at all equivalent to JavaScript. What do you think of delaying graduation to get more internship experience? Only have one internship. That's a great question. I'll tell you, unfortunately, I don't have strong and direct data on that problem. I don't have strong and direct data on that problem. All I have is a general heuristic. And my general heuristic is, if you can get a job today, why wait till later? That's my general heuristic. There are cases where you should wait. It's just not usually the case. So here's a case where you should wait if you have a high reservation price. And so you know that if you continue to interview for 3 months, you will be able to obtain a better job offer than if you take the job offer you have on the table today. So this would be a reservation price, and you would say, I should delay acceptance of this job because I have some indication that I could get higher pay, higher quality, whatever. That is atypical. That is rare. Usually, as I said, most people are going to college, and the reason they go to college is to get a job. And if you graduate, you can get a job. So you should just graduate now. What I would want you to tell me is I have strong data that if I do one internal or like one additional internship, I can get a substantially better job that's so much better that it accommodates the cost of waiting. For example, if you have someone at your school who says, "Hey, we have a pipeline to Facebook. Like we have a partnership with Meta, and the internship for them is like full this this semester. But we would love to add you to this Meta pipeline if you stick around for one more semester." That would be like a weird, atypical, rare thing. In which case, I would say, like, yeah, dude, like, do it. Because if waiting 6 months gets you into Meta, that value is much better than the expected value of working at an average company for 6 months. Did that make sense? So I think that was super complicated, but the basic answer is if you can get a job now, why wait? And then the more nuanced thing is like sometimes there are good reasons to wait. They're just not normal. Nope and Nope says disagree, C# and Blazor. I mean, it compiles to JS, but technically full stack. Yeah, I think you just agreed with me while saying disagree. It is a JavaScript application. It is a JavaScript application. You are just writing it in a pre-compiled language. And I'll tell you, whether it's Blazor or any transpiled framework, if you don't understand the transpiled output, you are at a disadvantage. This is actually a very famous anti-pattern in the industry where you have someone who might be called like a framework ninja. And this can be used in a positive sense or a derogatory sense. But if you understand a framework and you don't understand the underlying language, this is an anti-pattern. You should learn the fundamentals first and the frameworks second. What salary is good to aim for fresh out of college for full stack? Carter, that is so variable. I'll give you a number, but please don't use it. This is like the problem of doing averages across large and extremely diverse populations. I would say in this economy, if you can beat 70K annual in the US, at least you're not being swindled. At least you're not being swindled if you can beat 70K annually in the US. Some people can go 6 figures right out of college. It'll depend on which college. It'll depend on which degree. It'll depend on your social network and your ability to code and a bunch of other things, what you did while you were in college. So I would say try to shoot for over 70K. And then I would say, like, if you're from an awesome program, if you're from an awesome school, shoot for even more than that. Laterally, personalization is so important, y'all. I'll give you the generic advice, but you should absolutely book an expert session and get personalized advice, which in some cases will be worth 10 times more to you from a return on investment to your job search process. Personalizing the way you learn, personalizing your portfolio, personalizing your job search, personalizing it, making it specific to you can very easily improve your job search performance by 10 times. So book, like, I can't recommend it enough. It's like, I think it's like $80. Some people are going to freak out because it's $80. But if I make your job search like 2 or 3 months instead of like a year, I mean, it's just so easy to see how it's worth it. I mean, whatever. I personally, in my recent job search, have gotten advice from many other people, and I've shelled out thousands of dollars. So this is not like me cornering the market and telling like some sort of hypocritical thing where I'm like, give me money. No, like, it's a great investment for anyone, including me. We not buying the session, lil bro. Okay, thanks. You, why are you calling me lil bro? Is your profile pic real? It seems like you would be the littler one, right? Whatever. I'm super glad that people who say "lil bro" to me in the chat do not buy my sessions. Be one of the smarter ones. All right, let's do threesome. So, right, we went over the instructions and the examples. Let's go through the solution. Solution, intuition. Use 2 pointers with an O of n wrapper from left to right. Overall time complexity is O n squared. We need to sort, which costs O of n log n, but this is not binding. Since we're using pointers, space complexity is O of 1. Natasha says, maybe we are. Some of us go to DeVry. That's valid. Hey, DeVry will get you a job. DeVry will get you a job. Kev, thank you for the follow. Okay, so let's start by sorting before I forget. Nums.sort. Let's make results. That's going to be a set for auto deduplication of tuples. We're going to use tuples in Python because tuples are natively hashable, unlike a list. A list is mutable and not natively hashable in Python. So your language may vary here, but basically, by using a hashable, immutable structure like a tuple, when we put that into a set, it will deduplicate for free. I don't need to implement deduplication, so that's why I'm doing that. Alexander says, bro, set is cheating. I'm a cheat then. I'm a cheat then. I'm really interested in this topic of cheating with Leetcode because people use that term in so many different ways. Yeah, it doesn't bother me at all if people call it cheating. What bothers me is if I can or cannot land a job on the basis of the implementation. And I can assure you that your interviewer is going to be fine with a set. If you want to double check, just ask them, can I use a set? But I will tell you, you should propose using a set. Whenever there's ambiguity in a coding round with a human in the loop that you can talk to, you should solve ambiguity through proposal, which is going to make you look more senior, more smart. It's going to indicate that you understand the problem better than asking them what you're allowed to do. Asking them what you're allowed to do results in 3 different pitfalls. One is they might give you whatever they prefer, which might not be convenient for you. So that will make your implementation harder. The second thing is they might just bounce it right back to you and say, you can do whatever you want, in which case you just wasted time. And the third thing that they might do is they might give you a hint. And this will be very kind of them. And it's pretty much fine for juniors. But if you're not a junior, the fact that they gave you a hint may result in you losing points in the interview, basically. Even for some juniors, that may be the case. So clarify through proposal. Say, I would like to use a set and here is why. Is that okay? Alexander says, okay, you're right. Ooh, we love it. We love someone who's open-minded. Are concepts the same between Java and Python? Main function, linked list, interface, parent, child. There is some abstract relation between every structure in Python and also with Java. There is some abstract pattern. I don't have time to go through and enumerate them all. There are differences, but it is always possible to abstract between the languages because both languages are Turing complete. They are technically isomorphic. It's just a matter of like how many hoops you have to jump through to go from one to the other. Yeah, I think the most relevant difference here would be that in Java, you need to be careful around lists, basically. Lists and arrays and sets in Java behave differently than they do in Python. So in Python, you are going to have whenever we talk about a list, that would be the Java equivalent of a dynamic array. So you don't need to worry about your allocation there. It's always dynamic in Python, which is not the case in Java, right? So like length setting. I don't actually need to specify in Python. I think that would be the big call out. I'm sure there's other things to call out as well. Do you think Leetcode is a bad way for interviewing? Yes and no. I think the industry should change. I've done a lot at companies that I've worked to try to influence change. I facilitated the adoption of ChatGPT at a recent company. And so I cannot wait. I am eager for the day where Leetcode is just deleted out of the interview standards. I'm eager for that day. But that is aspirational and future looking. Today, the state of the art is learning Leetcode as a job seeker is a fantastic investment of your time and effort. It is a fantastic investment. So do I think it's bad? In a way. Do I think it's good? In a way. In a way. Trizy, thank you for sharing the live. Quick reminder, if you're on TikTok, you can, first of all, I hope you'll follow the page. Any questions that I don't get to, check out the Discord. And but also, you can go over to YouTube in my bio and see the full screen. Ninja says, how long have you been Leetcoding for? Maybe 5 years. I don't know. We can check. What's my record say? Maybe longer than that. I don't know that it matters, right? Why does it matter how long that I've been? Maybe you're asking that because you want to know how long it will take you to get to my level of competence. And the answer is you can do it faster. Don't compare yourself to me. Don't compare yourself to me. Looks like going back to 2020. So what did I say, 5 years? Okay, I guess like 4 years. And you can see that like I did a little bit and then I stopped and then I, really, whoa. I'm expecting more dots in the current year. Yeah. Been doing a whole lot more this year than I ever have before. So just imagine that these empty months were gone and you could do things a whole lot faster, right? If you don't have all these empty months. I think you can get to the Leetcode Kata. I think you can get to being able to solve the Leetcode Kata, the 12 standard problems. I think you can do this in as little as a month if you're going like crazy, like a lot of hours each week. You can do this in under a month if you're a crazy smart person with a ton of free time that's doing nothing else but practicing Leetcode. You can do this in under a month. Now, I think the average person, let's go with 10 hours a week. Yeah, let's go with 10 hours a week. I think the average person at 10 hours a week could learn, and assuming that they already know how to code before they start, right? So the idea is that you learn how to code and then you add on Leetcoding. I'm not one of these people that says you should learn to code via Leetcode. I think that's a terrible process. So project-based learning, social emotional learning, there's a lot of research to indicate efficacy here. Learn to code, build your portfolio, add Leetcode as an element of the job search development. Okay, so assuming that you already know how to code, right? And then now you're doing 10 hours a week. And I even say up here, ideally the Kata's perform. Oh no, that's the whole thing. Once you get good. I think 3 to 4 months. I don't have hard data on that, but that would be my guess. I'll say under 4 months. So if you're super awesome, you can do it in under a month. And if you're relatively normal, but you do know how to code, you can do it in under 4 months, would be my guess. Guns in Tech says a few weeks after you learn the DS. Maybe. Ninja, oh, okay, I'm prepping for Leetcode for internship. Yeah, pull up. I mean, give it a shot. Join the Discord. Let me know if I can help. Where can I find that resource? It's the latterly.io blog, article number 3. Ari, welcome from YouTube. Does your program chain you on how to use ChatGPT properly? I should do more. I should do more on that. So if you go to the checklist, there is a YouTube video. It's right up at the top on search techniques. And one of the search techniques is ChatGPT or generative AI in general, language models. So it doesn't say nothing about the topic, but I do not have a deep dive into prompt engineering, if that's what you're asking. I think I go through maybe like 2 or 3 prompt techniques, like pretty basic, like role task prompting. I might mention chain of thought. But I have a paper on Forest, plugin Forest. And so that's like an advanced technique that I don't cover in the standard curriculum. Also worth calling out, we have a custom GPT that you can access for free. And it gives you 24/7 support in the form of having context of the things that Laterally recommends embedded in there. Let's see, how long have we been going for? A little over 40 minutes. All right, we'll get through threesome. We might do one more problem, and that will be it for today. Loving the conversation, y'all. Thank you so much. And thanks for the likes on TikTok. We're over 500 likes on TikTok. I don't even know what we're at on YouTube. Can you build a simple app? Absolutely. I can build like this. I can also build a complicated app. So Laterally is a complicated app. If you look at the checklist, there are the big 4 recommended projects. And maybe big 4 is too scary. Maybe I should change the wording because they're very much beginner friendly. So the first project is incredibly simple. It's just a single HTML file. And then it gets more and more complicated from there. And by the end of it, you're doing full stack, Next.js, modern stuff. So the answer is yes. The answer is yes. Schoolio, thank you for the follow. What language? How do you store the data? HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So it's web projects. Those are the core technologies of any web project. You cannot build a web application without those 3 technologies. How do you store the data? It ranges per project. So in the simplest project, the data is in memory on the client. And then in the most complicated project, you are integrated to a database. And I recommend a Postgres instance hosted at Supabase for free. So yeah, you can build the project with free hosting. I guess that's another good thing to call out. Taheen Man, thanks for the follow. Schoolio, are you available for hire to fix something I am stuck on? Maybe. I can definitely do an estimate. So yeah, shoot me a DM, and then depending on the project, I might or might not want to work on it. Jacob says, MySQL is more lightweight than Postgres. Where are you hosting your MySQL, Jacob? Where are you hosting it? So I don't think that there is a good hosting service for MySQL today. PlanetScale, I'm not impressed. They've been in trouble in the press lately, but I wasn't impressed from the beginning. AWS, please don't host on AWS. It's a cost trap for a novice. It's great for an enterprise. It's awful for a novice. Their free tier is not really free. Supabase is the GOAT. Supabase is the GOAT. Shout out to Supabase. This is not sponsored. Supabase, please sponsor me. And so if you could equally easily deploy a MySQL instance or a Postgres instance, if it was equally easy to deploy and integrate, I might be open to MySQL. Like I've used MySQL in the past. It's just no comparison today. It's just like not even close. Like MySQL is, I would say MySQL is a very bad choice for a novice. I mean, if you're a pro, like maybe it's fine if you know what you're doing. SQLite thoughts. It's just not a real database. I mean, it's fine. It's fine in some contexts as a learning tool, but you're not going to have a commercial app that uses. You're not going to have a commercial app that uses SQLite for normal database operation. There might be some weird task that uses a temporary database in SQLite. You might be able to find that, but it's not normal. It's not going to help your resume. It's not going to get you interviews. It's just going to be weird, and weird can be impressive. So that's not to knock all weird projects. If you can communicate a weird project properly, you can look above average. Weird is on both sides of the competency distribution. So like there's weird that's like super awesome, and there's weird that's super lame. But from the perspective of risk aversion, so I give general advice to most people. Again, book a call if you want something personalized and tailored. But the general advice would be risk averse advice. And that would be just don't be weird. I say that as a total weirdo. Like I'm a total weirdo. So there is a time and place to appear weird if you can do it strategically so that you indicate to the employer that you're on the cool side of the weird, right? But the risk averse advice is just don't be weird. Okay, so we come over here, we have num sort. We want to have a far left, which is 0. I'll say while far left is less than length of nums. Then we're going to get the complement, which is the opposite of the far left index of nums. Then we will call toSum. Then I will say while duplicate. And we're going to fast forward the duplicates. Far left plus equals 1. Okay. And then eventually we want to return results. So what arguments do we need to pass to toSum? We want to pass it the result set. We want to pass it the far left index. We want to pass it the complement. We want to pass it nums. Anything else? I think that's it. We'll come over here, and then we'll do the same arguments. Because we're on a Python solution class, we need to add the self argument as the first argument. And then here, my toSum left will be equal to the far left plus 1. I don't want to scan all of nums over and over. I just want to scan those combinations which might be relevant for my triplet, which is the sub window to the right of the far left slice. Wilma, thank you for the follow. Right is still the right edge of nums, so that's still just the length of nums. Minus 1 is where the pointer will be initialized. And then we do the same while left is less than right for the reasons I gave when I was talking about toSum. Cursum is nums left plus nums right. If above, elif below. Else, hash found, append results. In this case, we just want to add to results because we might have multiple. We don't want to immediately return. We want to results.add is the syntax for the set in Python. So we add this sort of tuple, and then we want to, while to do, we want to fast forward duplicates. For non-asymptotic, speed up. Your interviewer might not care about this, but it will be needed to avoid timing out in Leetcode. So some Leetcode solutions are micro-optimized, and that means they are optimized non-asymptotically. So this will be a linear, oh, I misspelled asymptotic. asymptotic speed up. So this is just a linear speed up. And linear speed ups do matter in practice. They do matter in practice. In whiteboard interviews, we're often talking about time complexity, space complexity, asymptotic complexity analysis. But in the real world, you care about wall time. And so micro-optimizing is sometimes necessary for your Leetcode, and it's also sometimes really important in real life. Wait, can you use the sort function without importing it? Yeah, in Python, sort is a built-in on the list prototype. For another language, you might need to import. For some languages, you might need to write your sort function. Ooh, yuck. Can you imagine the time suck? It's one of the reasons Python is so great for Leetcode. Plus equals 1. It's okay, says bro on Leetcode, LOL. Yeah. Leetcode is like standard recommended interview prep according to big tech. So it's actually quite hard to get the most lucrative roles without Leetcode. Hiring without whiteboards is great if you want to avoid Leetcode style interviews. It's great. I recommend it if you're not competent with Leetcode style interviews. I recommend hiring without whiteboards. You will not find Google on there. You will not find Meta on there. You will not find Dropbox on there. It's not the most lucrative positions, basically. But it's still great. And kudos to the employers that support it. Ari says, great stream. We'll pop in next time as well. Thank you, Ari. Thank you for being here. So this sorted tuple, it's going to be the far left, and then the left, and then the right. But these tuples are supposed to be values, not indices, right? So we'll go nums, nums, nums. And unlike toSum, the 0 indexed is fine here because we're not returning indices, we're returning values. Okay, so if cur_sum is greater than the target, in this case, our target is called complement. So if the current sum is greater than the complement, otherwise, if it's less than the complement, so if it's greater than the complement, we have our window, right? And the sum is too big, so I need to decrement my window, but left is initialized to the boundary, so I can't move left. So I need to move my right pointer to the left. Does that make sense? And the reciprocal for the left for the other case. So we get our current sum, we compare it. Alfredo, welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here, Alfredo. All right, and then you could extract a value here. Notice I'm using nums left, nums right, nums right. So I could extract those if I want to. And then I would use it again here. I need to use it for my caching condition. So while the value is unchanged and I'm in bounds. So we'll do while in bounds and value unchanged. That means I will deterministically get the same sorted tuple result. So I can just skip my logic and I can just fast forward left. So what does inbounds mean? Well, I can use the same while expression as a boundary condition. And then the value unchanged, that would be nums left, is not equal to cached left. I could choose right. The choice of caching on left is arbitrary. We need a perturbation condition to fast forward. You can fast forward your pointer on either side. I'm just picking left because the overall mental model of the problem is like a left to right scan. So now I need cache left. What is cache left? Well, it's the extracted variable that I was talking about. We need to cache it so that we can know if we can fast forward. And then I could also just use it here just so I'm not repeating myself. I don't want to put it here because that is a tautological failure. It will deterministically always evaluate to false, right? Cool, so I think my toSum is looking good. I need to come up here and fix my pseudocode. And the idea is the same. So we want to fast forward duplicates. So we'll use the same idea, but we'll implement it slightly differently. This is what we mean by an abstract pattern. So the idea is while in bounds and complement unchanged, then we can fast forward in those conditions. So my complement is unchanged when nums of far left is equal to the complement. Oh, did I use not equals here? That might be wrong. I want to fast forward when it's unchanged, meaning the values are the same. Yeah. I want to fast forward when it's unchanged. So you can see we're using the same idea, but a different implementation because we are using the complement as our cached left. And we're incrementing a different variable. Like these are not the same literals, but it's literally the same abstract pattern. Overgrown, thank you for sharing the life. Yanni, thanks for the follow. How do we know if we're in bounds? I can just copy this boundary expression. Let's see if it works. Voila. Boogie Boy, that's an awesome username. Thank you for the follow, Boogie Boy. And so we have solved threesome. I'm going to call it there. Thanks so much I see some people have joined the Discord even while the stream's ongoing. Thank you for the conversation. Thank you for the follows, for the likes. And I hope you'll sign up at Latterly. If I didn't get to your question, excuse me, please do come by the Discord and drop a question. Or you can also alternatively book a one-on-one call if your question maybe involves private information or something like that. Thank you for the hand heart.